Lots of things need to happen before we can continue this journey. We've lifted the engine out, we've lifted the mast out, both of which have some pretty serious issues. Lots of systems need to be fixed, upgraded, and the interior is looking super tired. So it's time for an expensive boatyard period. Welcome to another update from Elixir's journey around the world. After 4 years and half a circumnavigation, we found ourselves anchored amongst the incredible beauty of New Zealand. It felt like the perfect place to pause, to breathe, and to finally give this old boat the refit she deserved. But Elixir isn't just any boat, she's a Sparkman Stevens Swan 37, born in 1970 with a history that reads like a nautical legend. Her first owner was John Graham, the Seattle-based architect famous for designing the Space Needle. He raced her up and down the American coast, and rumor has it that Ted Turner, legendary sailor and founder of CNN, occasionally took the helm. She was later owned by Bruce Johnson, a man I had the honor of meeting after receiving the Young Voyager of the Year award in New York. He spoke of teaching his own kids to sail on her in the Pacific Northwest, and you could hear the affection for this boat still in his voice. From there, Ian Chaston sailed her from Canada around the infamous Cape Horn and back to the UK, a voyage he chronicled in his book, Rounding the Horn. But every boat, like every sailor, has its limits, and on his final Atlantic crossing, Ian ran into trouble, and Elixir arrived in Cornwall under tow after a complete electrical and mechanical failure. She eventually ended up in my stepdad's boatyard in Falmouth. After Ian sadly passed away, Elixir was put up for sale, but for years she sat untouched. My stepdad, Dave Cockwell, completed some repairs and stored her in his boatyard. After she failed to sell, he eventually purchased her in a state of disrepair from Ian's family and offered me a deal. A half share in the boat on the condition that I brought her back to life. I was 23 at the time and she looked like this. A year later, we set off on this circumnavigation, which would eventually lead me to a boatyard on the North Island of New Zealand. I'd brought her back to life once before. Now, 5 years later, on the complete other side of the planet, I was realizing I had to do it all over again.
Well, it's about 7 a.m. and Elixir is coming out of the water. Tauranga. We're lifting the mast out as well this morning, so we've just motored over very slowly. There's a load of growth on the bottom of the boat. We've just been getting everything ready to come out of the water.
The reason why we're taking the mast out is something's broken right at the top, and this is the only way to fix it. So yeah, we're gonna do a haul out, get the bottom cleaned, and it's time for a big refit. This is like the biggest refit I've done since we left. There's a lot to do. I've got to pull out all of these little wedges that have been in here for like quite a long time. Oh, some of them are. I've never actually done it before. This is the first time. I've only put it in, never taken it out. So we'll see.
It's about to get crazy in here.
All of the electrical cables have been disconnected and we have to disconnect all the shrouds. So yeah, who knows how it's gonna go down. We're about to find out.
Holy sh**. That stinks. Oh God. Alright, it's coming out. You got like 1 more meter. It is unbelievably disgusting.
What's that?
It's so gross. That's not gonna come out, Max.
What do you say?
It's not gonna fit. So this
is
doesn't
the
fit
shoe.
through there. And it is nasty.
Oh yeah, there we go. I think it's just the one. Alright, so that's step 1 of this morning's mission complete. We have the mast out and yeah, it's looking good. Now we just need to get the boat out of the water.
Gotta get him from the back of the shell, otherwise it comes up and bloody gets you.
My name is Rachel and I'm from San Diego, California. I live on my boat Echo. She's a 36-foot cutter and she was built here in Tauranga. I've been living in New Zealand for the last 5 years or so. I've circumnavigated the North Island and hope to circumnavigate the South Island this summer, and then Max and I will be sailing to Fiji next season. Right now we're living on Echo and day to day we're just helping each other out in the shipyard and get ready to sail 2 boats.
Dave, what have you been up to today?
I've been unbolting this horrible engine, which is squalid, and manoeuvring it, lifting it out into the cabin so it's easy for the crane to lift straight out through the hatch.
What goes into taking an engine out?
Well, obviously you have to unbolt it and all the ancillary cables, control cables, pipes, etc. And then what we did was we tied a rope around the engine, tied that to a pipe on the deck, got 2 strong lads to lift it, and then I lifted the front end up, I pulled the engine back to a place where the crane can now access it.
Do you have any suggestions of what should happen to the engine now it's been removed from the boat?
Yeah, to a scrapyard and buy a new one. Or you could take it to a nice workshop and give it some love and TLC, service water pumps, fuel filters, oil filters, go through the entire saltwater system, clean it all out thoroughly, and replace all pipes and cables, and then I'm sure she'll be as good as new.
Okay, ready?
Okay, we're ready to come out. What, something still attached?
Yeah, 1 wire. As well as this massive project, I've been working another job to earn money to get Elixir sailing again, and editing videos and posting content, which is another very time-consuming activity. So if you want to see more from this journey, please consider signing up to the Patreon. It's also where I'm going to post any opportunities to sail on Elixir, and there's some cool extra content there, like my newsletter, the Elixir Express, where you can learn all about buying, owning a boat and sailing around the world. So yeah, please consider signing up to the Patreon if you want to support this journey and see more videos more consistently coming out on this channel. Thank you very much. There was something deeply satisfying about emptying Elixir of everything we'd accumulated. 4 years of life, forgotten possessions from 50 different crew, and souvenirs from a dozen countries. With the help of some friends, we unscrewed, unglued, and unbolted just about everything we could. I kept a few sentimental things, but the rest had to go. To create the clean, simple vision I had for our next life, we had to start fresh, and that included scrubbing the bilges too. Okay, so we're in the boatyard and we're going to test out the life jackets that we've been wearing whilst we just sailed across the Pacific to see whether they actually work or not. So this one's going in the bin, and we just thought we'd test out the canisters to see how reliable our life jackets are. Do you want to go ahead? Yeah, I think so.
Why do I feel scared?
That must be it, right?
I feel like we should know.
There we go.
It's choking.
It works. How does it feel?
It's cold, like the
Wow, it is. It's so.
and it's really firm and hard.
It's very hard. As you can see, the floorboards are out, ready to be revarnished. This whole wall, which was covered in various things, bookshelves, fittings, have all been taken off. Chain plates are gone, which is great. I was a little bit slack in going round and exercising all of the seacocks regularly, and unfortunately it got to the point where when I came back to Elixir after being away for like 6 months, I just couldn't open and close 2 of them. It was an absolute mission to take these out. Not only were they stuck in place with Loctite, but also it's in a really awkward position. Yeah, remember to exercise your seacocks. And yeah, I've also taken out the incredibly rusty fridge. So this was new when we left the UK. I guess mostly because of the environment that it's in, it's just become incredibly rusted, but it does still work fine. So hopefully I'll just tidy this up and get someone to re-gas it or whatever you do to a fridge, and hopefully it'll be good for another 4 years. So we made some friends who are trailer fabricators just on the outskirts of Tauranga where we are at the moment. And they've been very kindly helping me fabricate some new engine mounts because the ones previous were so rusty that it was inevitable that they were going to break at some point in the near future. And I'm just doing a dry fit of the early stages of these mounts, and as you can see they're so much more solid. Everything about them is just a lot better. So this is just kind of like the first mock-up. I'm going to take them back to the workshop and Scott is going to weld them up, and then they're going to be sent away to be galvanized, and then we can drop the engine in with some fresh mounts, a fresh lick of paint. It's going to look so much better than it did before because the whole engine box area was just really rusty, really corrosive, and it was all falling apart. So I can't wait to put everything back together all nice and clean. The engine's going to sound way better because the mounts are going to be solid, and yeah, looking forward to everything going back together. So now the engine's out, it's the first time I've ever been able to properly get underneath the mounts and into this space, which is pretty filthy. There's just a lot of oil and rust and nasty stuff. So yeah, honestly, it's probably been like 50 years since anyone's been in some of these spaces. Like potentially never. Elixir's 55 years old. This whole space behind the engine, like the engine box, is all just falling apart. And to be honest, it's been falling apart for a really long time. So now the engine's out, I'm just going to make the most of this opportunity to take out all of this really old interior woodwork and try and build something new that's a bit better. The deeper we dug, the more we found. It started with the interior joinery, but that was just the surface. 55 years of footsteps, engine vibrations, and ocean miles had taken their toll. Several of the main fiberglass floor bearers were loose, and fixing them meant grinding, which meant mess, and it was a job I'd been putting off for a perfect time. Well, this was it. And once you start pulling on one thread, the whole thing begins to unravel. The failing engine mounts weren't just a single problem, they were the first domino. They had wrecked the engine legs, damaged the gearbox, and completely worn out the 2-year-old cutlass bearing. Every problem we uncovered seemed to point to 3 more. Okay, so we're in Auckland city centre at the moment, and we've just picked up a new crew member.
Hi!
But the car's broken down.
Yeah, not the warmest of welcomes.
But we've got a rescue tow driver. So we're going to try and tow it. Do you think this string is going to be able to hold the whole car?
The only problem is if you like brake and I'm pulling and we really put a lot of tension, then maybe it breaks, but we'll just go slow.
Maybe just go like literally like so slow.
And we'll both have our hazards on.
Yeah.
Hopefully we just don't see, like there's actually a lot of traffic.
That's a long rope.
Oh, actually, it's working. It's working like surprisingly well.
Exactly.
So far.
We're good at this. That's a great noise.
They like the corner.
Let's go.
Tracy, the Toyota, has finally let us down. Something very bad has happened with the transmission. Yeah, she just basically gave up in the middle of Auckland City, as you can see, in the middle of a storm. But we've managed to hire this 12-seater minivan, which is pretty cool. Salut.
Salut.
How do you feel to be in New Zealand?
I kind of want to go back to Australia already. I got here yesterday. It's raining, it's cold, the car broke. There is Max, but that's it. It's been quite intense, honestly.
Damn, it's getting quick.
Come on, Max. Don't let her escape. Look at that beauty. Don't cry.
It's the day after the big storm and the car's broken down. We're here on Elixir with a new crew member.
Bonjour.
And today we're going to paint the bilge, which at the moment is a little bit wet because of the excessive rain that we've had. But yeah, we're going to get the water out, get it all sanded, get it all keyed up, and then paint the bilge. So hopefully then the boat will look a lot nicer and we can start putting everything back together. 4 weeks, that was the plan. We'll be back in the water in a month, I told myself. I attacked this refit like a sprint, fueled by naive optimism. I was counting down the days, pushing through the exhaustion, and trying to outrun the growing list of jobs. But you can't outrun the reality, and with every new discovery, that 4-week fantasy drifted further away. It felt like we weren't making progress, and the boat was actively fighting back. The job list wasn't shrinking, it was breeding.
What's today's project, Mast?
Well, one of today's projects is we're going to start with all of this interior varnishing. So as you can see, we have the table, all of the sole boards or the floorboards.
It's in better days.
Yeah. So much of it is missing that it's best to just like strip it back and start again. So yeah, we're going to do some varnish stripping with the heat gun and then start painting or varnishing as soon as we can.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Plan.
It's day 2 at the boatyard, and
For you.
yeah, for me, I just got there a few days ago. I had a really hectic arrival. We're redoing all the flooring, so I'm applying paint stripper on everything, wrapping it all in plastic. And hopefully in a few hours we're gonna be able to just like remove all the old varnish and put a new coat on.
You learn a couple of fundamental truths during a refit like this. The first is that nothing is ever as simple as it looks, and these jobs will almost always take longer than you planned. The second, and this is the hard one, is that a project like this will consume you. It doesn't just ask for your time, your money, and your effort, it demands all of you, and once you're in, there's no backing out and you have no choice but to see it through to the end. And that's when you learn the third truth, is that you can't do it alone, and having positive, supportive friends around isn't just helpful, but it's everything.
That trick worked really well, I think.
Lila is taking apart the galley
Yeah.
for a bit of repainting. And I didn't even know that that existed in Elixir.
It's really hippie. It will belong quite well on Rachel's boat.
I feel like that's exactly Rachel's style.
Yeah, I think we should keep it and put it on Rachel's. Putain. Sorry,
de bordel de merde.
sorry, Rachel.
Okay, so here we have Elixir's mast. This is the broken forestay tang. And in order to replace this, the whole top of the mast has to come off. And yeah, I've had to pull out all of the halyards, all of the standing rigging's gone. Basically the mast has just been totally stripped because it's gonna have to move. We're gonna have to relocate the whole mast to someone else's workshop to do this welding, so it's quite a big job. I have no idea how to weld aluminium, so we found a local engineer and rigger to tackle the mast repair. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is admit that you can't do it at all and hand the job over to a professional. So when the mast was built, this plate here, which is the forestay and backstay tang, was welded into the thing beneath it, which is the block for all the sheaths. And then the mast was built around that, which basically means that because there's this weld down here, we can't just cut the plate out and weld in a new one. So it's quite difficult to fix. What we're going to do is we're going to put 2 plates either side of this broken tang that go all the way back and replace this section here. So we'll cut off the tang, weld on a new one, and then cut 2 plates that go all the way through the mast and are welded along the top here. Weld the top of the mast back on again. All of this has to happen in a workshop because to weld aluminium you need a controlled environment. So we're going to load the mast onto a trailer, and then today it's going to go to the other side of the harbour, and Mike, an engineer, is going to weld it up.
There she goes.
With my wildly ambitious deadline drawing closer, our goal of sailing to Fiji with the cruising fleet transformed from ambitious to completely unrealistic. We'd been in the yard for weeks, and it was brutally clear that this was just the beginning. But as that dream faded, a new reality settled in, and honestly, there are far worse places to be stuck than here, surrounded by a group of friends in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. The timeline had changed, but the adventure was still very much alive. Lila, what do you think of New Zealand?
I love it. It's the first time I'm seeing the country. I've only seen the boatyard so far, so it's nice to have a little day off and explore.
Thank you for watching and for being part of this massive undertaking. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and let me know in the comments what you think of the project so far. For exclusive access to my newsletter, the Elixir Express, and to be the first to hear about future opportunities to sail on board Elixir, join our community on Patreon. Your support there is what makes huge refits like this possible. Thanks again for being here. You've seen the struggle, and in the next video, there's even more struggling with the first stages of Elixir's big transformation. See you in the next video.